What's going on, YouTube? Thanks for clicking on the video. In today's video, I'm going to be reacting to Ancelotti's Real Madrid, the new Galacticos. This video is by the Retro Route. I just did a reaction to the opening match. I did not have any notion of what happened in the Real Madrid-Mallorca opening match, but I did react to that over on Patreon. So if you fancy watching me react to La Liga highlights, Bundesliga highlights, other kind of games that I miss in the Premier League this year, you can find those on my Patreon. I'm reacting to those over there because they don't get blocked. Let's get into this. Ancelotti's Real Madrid, the new Galacticos. Well,
dramatic.
Honestly, what about Madrid? Seriously. It's not normal what they're doing now.
I must say it's a team of stars who look more a team of friends.
Real Madrid is a miracle club. Crazy things happen here.
How do they always find a way?
they've got a squad this year, man. That's true. I was noting that when I was reacting to the highlights over on Patreon. I was noting just the absolute talent that they have. Rodrigo, Mbappe, Jude Bellingham, Rudiger. I mean, there's some absolute Arda Güler. I didn't even realize Arda Güler played for Real Madrid. There's a lot of talent at Real Madrid.
Big names, busy summers and broken records are nothing new for Real Madrid, a club who twice already this century have splashed the cash
Vini
to
Jr.
assemble a dream team of world-class stars. This attempt, almost 2 decades after their first, may however be the best of the bunch. Back at the turn of the millennium, just after Florentino Perez was appointed as president, a policy was introduced which centered around spending a lot on high-profile world beaters and building a team to dominate Europe.
Doesn't
From
seem
the year
fair.
2000, Real brought in a new marquee name every summer for 6 years straight, investing over 250 million euros in what was to be known as the first era of the Galacticos.
Wow.
Despite early success, the project was deemed a failure, ultimately due to their poor Champions League record, and Perez stepped down, having come under fire for not balancing the team, obsessing on popular attacking players for greater...
Yeah, that's got to be the constant debate. Do we field a team of less notoriety, of talent with less notoriety, but a good team, where everyone plays together and there's a cohesion and unity in the squad? Or do we just go out and get the absolute best footballers in the world, put them together, and just let their talent drive? And obviously, I think both are effective strategies. I'm partial, and I think on a heart level, on a sentimental level, I prefer to root for a team of misfits that kind of work well together. No name players, but they are loyal and they play together and they play for the team and the club badge. I love that kind of story, and it's way more satisfying than a story of a bunch of hired assassins, basically. But I think both are effective strategies, and I'm sure if you're a fan of the club, you prefer the kind of strategy where you're constantly getting a new big name. I can see that draw.
Commercial reward. 3 years later, he returned to try again, and this time he was far more fortunate. Bringing in Cristiano Ronaldo and Kaká, they kicked off the second era, which stretched across a decade, welcoming multiple Galacticos per year until finding the formula in 2014, which won La Decima, their 10th European Cup. This group then famously three-peated the Champions League with Zidane in charge, finally achieving the president's aim. And in the wake of their third, Ronaldo's departure from the Spanish capital marked the end of the second Galacticos. That was 6 years ago, in which time Los Blancos have transitioned from one generation to the next, and their most recent triumph in Europe is an indicator of just how well they've managed it. No Benzema up top, they were now relying on goals from two converted wingers. No Casemiro in the middle of the park, Real have a multi-tool midfielder and a left-back turn 6 to protect the back line. And no Isco or Hazard to roam in the danger zone. The Great White Shark now has a formidable number 10 to drift, create and punish.
Bellingham, chance! Chance taken!
Skipper Nacho Fernandez and the beloved Toni Kroos wore the white for the last time in London, so this is truly the next era. And with what's happened this summer, it could be the strongest in their incomparable history.
Ha dormido durante muchos años con el sueño de jugar con el Real Madrid y hoy se realiza mi sueño. Soy un chico feliz hoy, muy feliz.
In sport, it's now official. French striker Kylian Mbappe has signed a 5-season deal with Real Madrid.
We have known it's happening for quite some time. Kylian Mbappe has been linked so many times to Real Madrid, but now the Spanish champions have got their man. They have said that they have got a new Galactico, and Mbappe is heading to Madrid.
Uno, dos, tres, a la Madrid!
This move brings a 7-year transfer saga to an end, as for the past few years, Real Madrid have desperately pursued the Frenchman, offering sums in excess of 100 million euros, but to no...
It's unreal the amount of talent that they have been able to amass for this team. Like, it shouldn't be fair, but then again, I watched and I reacted to that opening match. They weren't necessarily, they didn't look like world beaters against Mallorca. Now, I'm sure they're going to play into form, but there was a lot. They could have very seriously lost that game. There were several chances Mallorca had and should have cashed in on, should have made Real Madrid pay for, and they weren't able to do that. So, yeah, they've got a lot of talent, and it looks good, and it looks scary, and I am pretty confident that they'll be contending for another Champions League title, if not winning the whole thing again. But, you know, it started off slow. Hey there, let me show you something cool that I'm doing over on Patreon. Here on Patreon, on the $5 tier, I am reacting to videos that I can't upload here on YouTube. Look, Liverpool 4, Barcelona 0, the game highlights, the game footage. This would get blocked in a second on YouTube. I'm also, the Hand of God game, Diego Maradona and the goal of the century. I just put this one up on Patreon for the $5 tier memberships. For the $1 US dollar a month, you get to see the game highlights of Paul Pogba and all the other players that I've been reacting to, along with any kind of video that gets blocked on YouTube. Look at the dramatic final between Bayern Munich and Manchester United. What an epic game. And I'm doing classic games as well as following through all the World Cups, $5 US a month. I'd love to see you over there. I'm having a blast uploading these things, and it really helps me help support the channel. I appreciate every single one of you. Now back to your video. That's a lot of money that they've spent on Kylian Mbappe.
No avail. Instead, Mbappe saw out his PSG contract and joined Madrid on a free, tying him to the Bernabeu for 5 seasons. The 25-year-old is modern football's true Galactico, the biggest brand in the continent and the game's most marketable figure. The salaried 15 million euros will be recouped easily through shirt sales and sponsorship deals, and that's without even mentioning the real reason they bought him. Kylian Mbappe is a generational talent and a bona fide superstar who since the age of 18 has been hailed as the biggest attacking threat on the planet.
I think you guys watch it. You guys watch this because I know that there's been actually, surprisingly, a lot of negativity surrounding Kylian Mbappe, especially in my comment section for some reason. I think you're going to see, and obviously I'm I'm brand spanking new to this game, so my opinion is not worth that much more than the other average fan. But Kylian Mbappe, I think we're going to see a renaissance of his career. I think we're going to see probably the best era of Mbappe at Real Madrid. Certainly, the fact is going to be that you're going to see him playing at that Champions League stage more often than we've seen him at PSG. You're going to see him probably lifting the trophy several times. And so you're probably going to associate much of his career with what happens here in these 5 years at Real Madrid. I would imagine these next 5 years at Real Madrid will be pretty defining for his career, and you'll probably see the best version of Mbappe that you've seen so far. That's what I imagine. With his youth, he's very young. He's still nearing his prime, and playing on this stage this often, you're going to start to link Mbappe with some of those great moments. That's what my prediction would be. I imagine some of that negativity will be put to bed, and he's going to perform really well with Real Madrid. That's kind of my feeling surrounding this.
With his direct approach and roadrunner speed, there isn't a defender alive the Parisian doesn't terrify. And adding in his quick feet and agility, this is an anomaly of a player who has grown game by game, refining his natural qualities and learning from his seniors. Sharing the pitch with
You also have to factor, and I'm sorry for pausing the video so much, you also have to factor in that Mbappe is playing for Carlo Ancelotti at Real Madrid. The management of this superstar is important, and I think that Carlo is going to find ways to make this roster work. He's going to be able to pull the best out of each player, better than what I think you see happening with the French national team, which should be dominating, but were underwhelming in this last Euros tournament. I think you're going to see Don Carlo. I think you're going to see him pull the best performances out of these players and maybe make Mbappe really, really shine.
Griezmann, he learned about vision and develops his creative mind.
Mbappe's curling ball!
His time beside Neymar taught him how to beat a man, combining skill with athleticism. And minutes off Benzema's shoulder showed him how to act as a centre forward, slipping between the lines and finishing chances. Since his 2017 emergence, it's been enticing to imagine him sporting the all-white. And though it's taken time, the aura of the club crest has once again worked its magic. Madrid have always been the ultimate, coming with which is a deserved arrogance. So welcoming a man who has never shied away from the grandest stage, but is instead activated by it, makes it a Galactico match made in heaven, or hell depending on your perspective. See, with this addition, it pushes Real up a level, and they're already better than everyone else, so this is Perez's proclamation to reign over Europe once again. When he's tried before, it's not worked as expected, as the balance was off and the foundations weak. But this group doesn't have those qualms. Starting at the bottom, in goal they've got a world-class shot stopper who turns up in key games, almost sealing their number 14 on his own. And his reserve Lunin is also a fantastic backup, stepping in for Courtois earlier this year. From the criminally underrated Ferland Mendy at left back to a 32...
Dude, I saw Mendy in that game. In their opener, he got a red card in the last 30 seconds of the game, a 3-game suspension. At least that's what it was. What the announcer said in that highlight video. An unfortunate red card right as time was running out on that game.
Danny Carvajal in the other corner, who's just had his most rewarding summer yet. Even in their understated positions, Madrid have game winners. Eder Militao and Anthony Rudiger are well acquainted by now and harmonise with each other. the Brazilian bringing speed and versatility to complement the Berliner, who at 6'3" adds a physicality as the aggressor channeling the spirit of Ramos. With academy graduate Fran Garcia on call with the experienced David Alaba, their depth at the base enables them to properly compete in all three competitions. Shielding them is Eduardo Camavinga, a mobile, tough tackler who can also do a job on either flank, but much like his compatriot Aurelien Tchouameni, mainly exists to afford time to his midfield partners. One of whom is Federico Valverde, the unsung hero of Los Blancos, who appeared more than any Madridista last season, but has managed to avoid superstardom, which is down to the fact that he's hard to pin down. Across 5 years, the Uruguayan's adaptability has enabled him to plug holes and fill in where needed, but whether that's been on the wing, as the 10, or in a deep role, he's aced it. The coach loves him as the all-rounded workhorse slap-bang in the middle of the pitch, who crunches into tackles with no fear, while also whipping a champagne screamer out of nowhere. Some are calling him the reincarnation of Gerrard. Now with the captain's armband, Luka Modric just extended his stay in the capital by another year, and even though he won't play as much due to the formation change and the fact he'll turn 39 this September, his influence on the new ilk of midfielders is huge. Being able to train with an all-time great will be invaluable for the likes of Arda Güler, the Turkish teen who flaunted his gifts across the back end of last season despite injury, averaging a goal every 55 minutes to break a club record.
I didn't know that he played at Real Madrid, but he was so good in the Euros tournament. That's where I saw him and got acquainted with him.
With a wonderful Euros as well, Güler's profile and value shot up, living up to his hype as one of the world's elite youngsters. The 19-year-old's contribution will most likely be limited because of Real's other playmaker. Jude Bellingham has been football's man of the year in many ways. Voted player of the season, having amassed 19 goals as a La Liga debutant. Those numbers for a midfielder are crazy enough. But when a lot of them have come in either El Clasicos or late clutch moments, it gets crazier. So when you realise most of this was all done while he was just 20 years old, it becomes absurd. It's more than the numbers though. The Englishman carries himself like he's been doing it at this level for a decade, and looking at how complete his game already is, it makes sense.
Parece que ne tiene 30 para su carácter, su personalidad. Nunca está, todo el tiempo está bien focalizado en el partido, sabe lo que tiene que hacer. Y después toda la calidad del mundo que tiene, la fuerza física, la habilidad, obviamente sorprende un poco a todos.
6'1", broad, even without the shoulder pads, and technical, he has it all. Able to slow the pace of the game or speed it up whenever he fancies. So when people dare to draw parallels, it's hard to argue. If Rudiger's Ramos and Güler's Özil, then Bellingham has to be Zizou. The duo ahead of him were...
Is he that good? Come on. I feel like we're stretching a little bit in this video.
A bit of a surprise in their own right. Not many would have expected Rodrigo's rise to go as it has. An 11, with all the typical traits from pace to trickery, should find it harder than he has to adjust to a central role. But with the Italian's faith, he's made a fine partner to his fellow countrymen. Vinicius Jr is clearly the world's #1 winger, blending his natural pace with the daring skills that on his day make him the game's best entertainer. Across the board, he's become a far more effective attacker who makes critical choices in the final third and stays composed in the box. A fullback's worst nightmare, his assertive way of running at defenders, cutting past them and opening up space is standard for Vini. Yet this year he's ascended an echelon, shouldering scoring duties and delivering.
É uma evolução fantástica que ele está tendo e eu acho que chegou o momento dele. Ele foi extremamente determinante esse ano para o Real Madrid. Para mim, hoje é o melhor jogador do mundo com diferença.
He and the Five were standouts last year, finding instant chemistry, with the Brazilians splitting so Bellingham could slot in as a false nine, and given his stats, this will most likely be his role this season. Mbappe's arrival does raise a few questions. Firstly, on the formation. Strikerless Madrid operated in a diamond at first, but switched to a 4-3-3 when the Englishman proved what he could do, so whether they'll opt for a 4-2-3-1 with a double pivot that Bellingham can drop into, or keep things as is and just swap out Rodrigo for Mbappe is up to the manager. Ultimately, he has the personnel on standby to suit whichever system he fancies, so it doesn't matter, but the next point could pose more of a problem. Real now have a squad worth in excess of €1 billion, so it's likely self-esteem is through the roof right now. Adding an ego like Mbappe's will only heighten that, and though in Perez's dream scenario it bolsters the team, it could also cripple them. The vibe in Madrid is positive at the minute, with the exuberance of youth shining through, and it seems anyone can feel welcome there. But historically, the Bernabeu can be a toxic place that breaks players as well as makes them. Tensions could rise over playing time, with Rodrigo
be interesting to see how this plays out, because this is a very viable option of what might happen.
Being the likely victim. Thus many news outlets have predicted his exit. And if offensive options weren't already abundant, the 18-year-old Endrick could complicate things further. A Brazilian wonder kid, the Palmeiras striker is touted as...
Is Endrick the one that looks like a Pele clone? Some of the footage is unreal.
O Fenomeno's heir, and would have been seen...
Or it's a Ronaldo clone.
...in all-white earlier if he hadn't been too young. So it's possible that he takes his chances and becomes a genuine threat in the lineup. Now granted, this all sounds very negative, and it's only because we've seen these foolproof lavish projects fall to pieces, proving that money doesn't make a team. But the factor that sets them apart is the shot caller that commands them. Carlo Ancelotti is the great man manager, as proven by his 20-year career of non-stop success for the biggest clubs of every league, as well as the way his men speak about him.
What I really loved about Carlo was his man management, and that I've never had a manager actually in probably all my career that had asked the players and give them a bit of responsibility.
Everywhere that you see Ancelotti is coaching, every player loves him. He's got this ability to manage people and converge every different interest that you have on the group in the same direction.
I think the sign of a good manager is when you can make you believe that you're almost a bit better than maybe you think you were before, and I think he fills me with that kind of confidence every day at training and in the games, and he gives me the freedom to kind of roam the pitch and be as effective as possible. Not only that, but he's a top person, he makes you feel comfortable. So
honestly,
honestly,
when we talk about greatest coaches, I actually think I have cooled down my jets on Pep Guardiola as the greatest coach, the greatest coach. I'm not saying that I would put Carlo Ancelotti up there at the top, but he's got to be in the conversation at least equal with Pep. But I'm actually dropping Pep quite a bit because I think you've got Sir Alex Ferguson and Johan Cruyff maybe up there. But Don Carlo, he's a great coach.
It's definitely down to him why I've kind of had the start that I've had at Madrid this season, and I'm really grateful for everything he's done for me so far.
Promoting spontaneity in the place of regiment, the Don unlocks a creativity in his stars by allowing them to play with freedom and not overloading them tactically. Knowing how to empower every type of character, from young to old, understated to prima donna, no other coach could handle this dressing room, and that's why he's the only man for Madrid. As things stand, with the window open and league kickoff only days away, Perez could still have an ace up his sleeve. The post-Euros Copa rumour mill has started, and the worrying thing about Madrid is that every player they make a move for, they'll end up getting. Alphonso Davies has been linked after captaining Canada to the semis, and knowing Bellingham's his close friend, Trent Alexander-Arnold, could be lured away from his boyhood club as his contract enters its final year.
Wow.
The big one, though, is a real nerve-wracker.
¿Ficharías a Rodri para el Madrid? ¿Lo intentarías? sin duda. Ya, bueno, yo se lo digo todos los días. Digo, deja Manchester, que no hay sol, vente a Madrid, que te necesitamos, que además tú eres de aquí, de Madrid, no sé qué.
¿Y qué te dice?
Sí, no, es que tengo contrato, aquí no hay cláusulas, no sé qué, tal, me da largas, pero...
Es buenísimo.
Sería el fichaje.
Es buenísimo.
Sin duda.
Es un espectáculo.
Siendo español, en Madrid...
Dude, can you imagine that?
Encajaría perfecto.
Again, he himself has said nothing, and Pep deems him irreplaceable. But Rodri's triumph with Spain must have strengthened the bond with his nation, and knowing the city well, the temptation for the 16 will go beyond the stratospheric wages they'll shell out. It would be typical Perez to attempt it, that could cost him 1 or 2 from the current crop, although with Rodri beside Valverde or Camavinga beneath Jude, it would somehow set them further apart from the rest of football. Nothing's confirmed, and these transfers will most likely stay speculation, but it doesn't matter. Madrid have a dynasty in motion, and are looking to tread uncharted territory with another megastar entering his prime years. So it could be worth tuning into a game or two this season, because this will be very special.
Well, the first game was a little disappointing. I'll go ahead and say that. The first game was disappointing. If you like what you saw in this video, go ahead and smash that like button for me. The more likes we get on these videos, the more people have an opportunity to view these videos, because the YouTube algorithm finds like-minded viewers and puts this video in their recommended. So go ahead and smash like for me. It helps me out significantly, more than you would know. And it's free. But also, if you want to join Patreon, not free, you can get a lot of really, really cool content that I can't post on YouTube. Anyway, I'll see you guys there.